Well, thank you very much. I think we've started off really, really well here, and I'm glad that we have this sense of this place being somewhere really important where you can really share and things can happen as a result of meetings that take place here. And, you know, Jeff just finished by talking about the situation we're in. And in the title of your meeting, it's Voices of Change, Sparking Hope with Sustainable Solutions. Of course, the solutions are really important, and you're going to be talking a lot about them, but I think equally important, and maybe even more important, in terms of galvanizing people in the face of quite a dark situation they face now, is this hope. This word hope. In some ways, I think hope is the most important word in your title. And hope is also the focus of the Jubilee year. We are in a Jubilee year now. It happens every 25 years. It's inspired by the biblical idea of the Jubilee in the Old Testament, or the First Testament, in the book of Leviticus, which was actually every 50 years then, but and it started off in 1300. The first Jubilee was called in 1300. It was every 50 years, but it's gradually being reduced because people want to have it more often. So now we have it every 25 years. And the whole idea is this, in this particular Jubilee of Pope Francis, when he produced his official document, which launched the Jubilee last year, he wanted it to be a Jubilee of hope. And he wanted to call all of us to be, very nice word, pilgrims of hope. Now, it might be interesting for you to think about how your work as innovators and as thinkers and as leaders, in terms of a pilgrimage, in terms of being pilgrims, going together towards a special place. You know, pilgrims are going somewhere, you know. So I would like to say something about Christian idea of hope, to add to what I think will be really, really important discussion. So I don't want to take away from anything that you're saying. I want to add something connected with the tradition of the place where we are, building on what Jeff was saying. So I'm going to read a bit to you. So hope in the Christian tradition is what is called a theological virtue. Okay, it belongs to a group of things, a category of things called theological virtue. So what does it mean, theological virtue? Okay, so theological, let's think about this first. Theological here means that hope, like the other two theological virtues, which I can mention, there's three of them in the Christian tradition, faith, hope, and love, so three, mentioned by St. Paul, so we get them in the letters of St. Paul. These are gifts from God, okay? They're gifts from God that we can receive, and they form a kind of ground or foundation on which we can build a good life, because we need this help from God because of our tendency to do bad things, our tendency towards sin, okay? So the idea here is that God is helping us. God created us, he made us good and that, but we have this difficulty to really achieve what's good, so we need extra help. And that's what these theological virtues are giving us. They are also, though, like natural virtues. That's the other kind of virtue. We have two kinds of virtue in the tradition, and natural virtue is also what Aristotle is talking about, that Jeff was mentioning. You know, natural virtues are things you can grow in. The idea is that we are beings with potential, and we can realize this potential. It's the idea of human capital development, if we could use the modern idea, but also social capital development, because virtues grow in communities, you know, and we see this all the time. Why are we here together? We're building a community that helps us do even more than we can do on our own. Now, there's one other dimension, though, about hope that I'd like to mention, You see it in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. If you're interested to know more about this, there's a big book called the Catechism, which is available on the Vatican website, which is actually really interesting. It's got a lot of theological ideas and interesting things in it. Anyway, the Catechism tells us that these three theological virtues, faith, hope, and love, take us even further than laying the foundation for a good life in this world, okay? Because, as it says, they adapt our capacities for, and I'm quoting here, participation in the divine life. So the idea is that even now, even in this world, through hope, through this gift that we're given, we can have a relationship with God. God is not just some sort of kind of divine first mover or some kind of mathematician out there who just set things going and leaves it in a mechanical way. But God is offering us a relationship. And it's a relationship in which hope is crucial. So I'm just sharing with you what this tradition thinks about hope. Byung-Chul Han, you might know him. He's quite an important intellectual, public intellectual today. He wrote a book a couple of years ago called The Spirit of Hope. It's only 90 pages. I encourage you to read it. He says in his book, hope is located in the transcendent, beyond the inner worldly course of events. And he contrasts hope and optimism very strongly. He says hopeful thinking is not optimistic thinking. Unlike hope, optimism lacks negativity. It knows neither doubt nor despair. Hope operates in the face of despair. Okay. And later on, he will quote Erich Fromm, where he says, hope is paradoxical. It is neither passive waiting, nor is it unrealistic forcing of circumstances that cannot occur. It is like a crouched tiger. I like this image. You can see he's from the East. He's got inspired by Asian ideas, you know. It is like a crouched tiger. Which will jump only when the moment for jumping has come. It's waiting, actively, active waiting. So hope is about trusting God, believing or having faith in God, that despite all the evidence to the contrary, we are being guided forward by him to a better place. And Pope Benedict says something interesting about this. Pope Benedict's the Pope before Pope Francis. He wrote a whole encyclical, big document about hope, which has the title Spe Salvi. And in that document, he says, hope draws the future into the present so that it's no longer simply a not yet. The fact that this future exists, it's a place we're going to. We're pilgrims. We're going somewhere, pilgrims of hope. The fact that this future exists changes the present. The present is touched by the future reality, and thus the things of the future spill over into those of the present, and those of the present into the future. So Han will also emphasize that hope is about moving towards something new. And here I can bring in St. Thomas Aquinas, who, as Jeff was saying, used to read Aristotle. Thomas Aquinas also describes hope as a kind of movement or stretching of ourselves towards the good, an ongoing journey that relies on God's grace to help us reach a fulfillment beyond what we can achieve alone. Ultimately, the virtue of hope reflects a way of living that is directed towards both the goods of this world, as we encounter them in this life, and the ultimate good, the good that makes sense of all the others, the meaning that Jeff was talking about, which is this loving relationship with God in the life to come. In Spe Salvi, Pope Benedict XVI emphasizes that hope is communal. We hold to hope together, not just as individuals, for a shared vision of a world that reflects God's love. He will say, Byung-Chul Han will say, the subject of hope is a we. We have hope. Pope Francis adds that stretching forward in hope is not only inward or private, but extends, as he says, to the great horizon of justice and solidarity. And in launching the Jubilee, Pope Francis, in his document where he did this, Spes non confundit, it's called, because they always have these Latin names, documents. Pope Francis describes hope as the virtue we most need today. He calls hope the light that shines in the darkness, a guiding force. It's got power, hope. It's not just something for weak little people. It's guiding us forward, helping us to work for these really difficult but important things like peace, unity, justice, even in a world filled with division and suffering. The Jubilee is an invitation to let hope inspire us to build bridges, to seek justice, and to care for the vulnerable. Hope calls us out of complacency and challenges us to bring God's mercy to those who need it most. For Thomas Aquinas, as for many other Christian thinkers, hope's reliance on God's help assures us that the highest good is really possible, even if it does seem beyond our human capacities. Pope Francis sees the Jubilee as a period to renew our trust in God's guidance, allowing us to confront pressing problems, from economic disparity to environmental concerns to all the big problems that you young leaders are dealing with the hope that sustains action and fosters change. So in this youth symposium, which we can call our Jubilee Youth Symposium, because it's in the Jubilee year, let us embrace the vision that St. Thomas gives us of hope as stretching towards the good and towards God and the good that he has promised us. Then let us remember Pope Benedict's call to see hope as communal, as a journey we make together. And by, as your title indicates, sparking hope with your sustainable solutions, let us follow the call of Pope Francis to let hope shine brightly in the world around us. Thank you.